Good day, my friends. My name is Lego, and welcome back to Destiny. I messed that up so badly. Welcome back to Destiny. Today, I have some exciting news. We just hit 50 subscribers today on November 1st, 2016. I wanted to say the date in case I ever go back to this and want the date. I don't know. Anyway, I'm sorry I haven't recorded a video in a really long time. I've been sick and busy. I've got a new setup going here, so I had to work all of the kinks out, but we're good. We're going to record some more, and today, since today is a special day, special video, one, I'm going to go through the daily heroic story this week on, on Destiny here. I'm going to use Thorn today because I feel like it. And I'm going to talk a little bit about Crucible and how to become better at Crucible, or not necessarily better, but really see the things that are going on around you in Crucible. So, let's get going. I'm going to just talk about this. I'm actually playing live as I'm talking about this. I am not doing this as voiceover. So, sorry if I lose my place or whatever. So, I'm going to talk a bit about Crucible. So, the very first thing I can think of that's going to help your gameplay the most out of anything is finding a weapon you are comfortable with using. You'd be surprised how much a sight can affect your gameplay. Finding a sight that you're very comfortable with, it helps so much. Just so much. So, first thing I'd say is look for a gun that fits your playstyle perfectly, or as close to perfectly as possible. Another thing, there are no good and bad guns in Destiny. It all depends on your playstyle. If you like quick actions, things like that, an auto rifle might suit you a little better for up close and personal kind of combat. If you like long range, things like hand cannons and sniper rifles, scout rifles, anything like that is going to be more up your alley. So it really depends on your playstyle. And the same goes with exotics. There really are no good or bad exotics depending on how you play. So that's one thing to keep in mind. And so now that you've got yourself a nice weapon and you've got your sights sorted out and everything, the next thing to keep in mind about Crucible that I can think of is your enemy awareness. So enemy awareness, English, enemy awareness would be constantly looking up at your map there in the top left corner. Now you'll notice that mine is green. I do this for two reasons. One, I'm colorblind. I think everybody knows that now. But I'm colorblind, so I put on colorblind mode to help me out. And two, it makes it easier to see the map in your peripheral vision. So that helps a lot. So you don't have to look at the map quite so often. But I still glance up at the map about 4 times a second in Crucible. At least in a tense game. In a not so tense game, I don't use the map quite as often. But the more you use your map in the top corner, the better off you'll be. But make sure you try and balance it with your perception up front, looking around where you're at, because if you do not, you'll find you run into enemies when you see them on the map before you can fire, which is a little bit of a problem. So try not to overuse the map. But to give you an idea in Crucible as to how quickly I look at the map, it's a bit like this: map, 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 map. And I'm constantly bouncing between the two. Sometimes I'll look down at my ammo, but most of the time I'm bouncing between the map and the screen in front of me. That's one thing to keep in mind when playing in Crucible. Another thing to keep in mind is where you're at in the map. Map awareness actually helps quite a lot. So knowing where you are in the map, knowing where your enemies are in the map, and knowing where your cover is in the map will help you more than anything. And the only thing I can say to help with that is just playing Crucible more. You'll learn the maps the best that way. So another thing that you can do is you can, I mean, depending on what you run, map awareness is going to vary, but if you run a shotgun, you're going to want to use map awareness more than, say, somebody who has a sniper rifle. But it does help to know the maps a lot. So the next thing that's going to help you is knowing when to engage in a battle and when not to engage in a battle. That will help probably the most for most of you, is when to engage in a battle and when not to. So the best time to engage in a battle is going to be when you attack an enemy and they don't know you're there. That's the best time to engage in battle. However, that is not always the case in Destiny. You don't always come across that kind of situation where your enemy doesn't know that you're there and you have a free shot. Most of the time, they know that you're there. So, the second best time to come at them is when you have cover and full health. That's probably the second best time. If they're out in the open, you have an immediate advantage. But the same goes for you. If you're out in the open, you have an immediate disadvantage. Having cover nearby helps more than anything, even if you're using an auto rifle or a shotgun. Ducking into cover can be what saves you in the middle of the game. So, there's also, I mean, that goes for snipers, but also long-range battles. Knowing the range of your weapon will help you immensely in combat. So, knowing that your weapon, say Thorn, okay, I know that Thorn has a very good long-range combat kind of feel to it. It's very good at long ranges. However, up close, Thorn is terrible because you can easily get killed by a shotgun, a fusion rifle, an auto rifle, whatever, because you just can't shoot that fast. So with a gun like this, you want range to be your friend. So whenever you see somebody who has an auto rifle and you're outside of auto rifle range, you have immediate advantage right there because you can outshoot them and you know it. So knowing your range is going to help a lot. And some people will say that ranged weapons are more powerful than short range weapons, things like that. Really, it depends on, one, your playstyle, two, the area you're in, the area of combat, or AOC, I guess. I don't know, I'm coming up with new acronyms here. It's early in the morning, I'm sorry, English doesn't work for me anyway, so. Anyway, so knowing the area of combat helps as well. If you've got a range advantage on the other person or a rate of fire advantage on the other person, then you're going to win that battle. If I were to go into a battle with an auto rifle in auto rifle ranges up close, I'm going to lose that battle. I know I'm going to lose that battle. So what do I do to try and avoid that? I try and force him outside of his range and into mine. That's the best way to go about doing it. So if you run away and they chase you, then running into cover, sort of, and they're chasing you, and you've got a good 5-10 feet between them, you're going to win that battle, especially if they're low on health. So something else you don't want to do is, if you see that you're low on health, don't chase the enemy, just go hide in cover. That's probably the best way to avoid getting killed. So just some stuff that I recommend is finding cover. Cover is probably the thing that's going to help you the most in surviving in Crucible. Cover and tactics. So, for some of you, okay, I know this sounds crazy, but the brain processes information at certain speeds. Some people in Crucible can actually process things so quickly that time almost slows down for them. In this case, it's a severe advantage in up-close situations or long-range situations. It's quite a big advantage. Now, for those of you who cannot process that quickly, long range is going to help you a little more than up close. So those people who run around with shotguns, a lot of them, they can process the world around them a little faster than everyone else. So knowing that, you can keep in mind that up close they're going to have that advantage. You might be slower in a up-close situation, so you kind of want to stay away from those if you're that kind of person. Me, I'm kind of in between. Sometimes I'm fast, sometimes I'm slow, so I just kind of stick with long range most of the time. That's one way of looking at it. Something else that can help you is things like burn. If you're running a class like the Sunsinger, like I was there, the grenades have burn effect, and the Thorn has burn effect. Lasting effects can do so much for you, just so much. So if you're running a class that has lasting effect, I recommend you put on lasting effect unless you've got something else that you like better. So now I'm going to go into Crucible and give you guys a real idea as to what to do. Now it depends on the different kind of combat you're in too, as to how well you play. Me personally, I do terrible in Inferno because there's no map. Most of the time I play with a map. So I'm really used to bouncing up to that top corner there and using the map to my advantage. So that, Inferno is really not my thing because of that. I also do not like skirmish because I find I'm always outranged, which is ridiculous. Outskilled, outranged, something like that. So, as you can see, this is my things. I'm gonna switch to a different shader. Now that's another thing I wanna gloss over. Having a different shader, I know it sounds crazy, but having a different shader in Crucible makes it so that the enemy player's brain doesn't register your character as easily. So wearing a black shader in a dark map, you're not going to be registered as easily as if you were wearing a glowing shader. That's why I do not wear any sort of chroma at all, because you glow when you wear chroma. Now it's cool, but I don't wear chroma because it glows. I'm hesitant to even wear these gloves. The slightest little bit of glow can give away your position. So guns like Necrochasm would maybe not help so much because they do glow. But I don't know, since I don't have Necrochasm quite just yet. I'm really close, but I don't have it. I'm trying to get a Crux of Crota. Anyway, so you want to avoid glow as much as possible. Wear dark shaders. Wear either Old Guard or what's the other one? Thunder Devil. Old Guard, Thunder Devil, really dark shaders. You want to wear those. Or gray shaders, gray or green, because on some maps it's very green. If you're wearing black shader on a green map, you're gonna get seen. Okay, I guess we're not doing zone control since nobody seems to be on. Okay, we'll try Clash. So, your shader can make a big difference. Another thing that can make a difference is your super. Depending on what kind of super you have, there are ranged supers and then there are up close supers. And I would class this super as kind of an up close super because it uses the grenades. However, you can get some really long range shots with grenades. Not saying that you can't. Then you've got Stormcaller on this class. I mean, every character kind of has a short range, mid range, and long range class now with all three of the classes. So you've got your Sunsinger, which is kind of a mid range class. You've got your Stormcaller, which is a short range class. And you've got your Voidwalker, which is a long range class. And it's kind of similar on all of the, depending on the element, between all of the different classes is pretty similar. The Titan has mid-range in Solar, short range in Void, and long range in, or short range in Arc, and long range in Void. If you know how to use it properly, you can use it as long range. But you've also got with the Hunter, the Void is long range, Arc is short range, and Solar is, I guess, mid-range, long range. It kind of varies with that one. But that can help you a lot. Knowing the range of your super can help a lot. So you can, if somebody's running at you, you can determine when to pop your super in cover or out of cover, and when they're going to attack you. Things like that is going to help you a lot. Just knowing what you're using, how long it takes to fire, to charge, whatever, that can help you more than anything. At least, if you're struggling with combat itself. Wow, nobody wants to play today. Okay, we'll try some Rumble. I wanted to give you guys kind of an example of some of the playing that I do, try and show you my thought process as I go through it, so that hopefully you can understand what's going on and how I'm thinking. Hopefully we can get a game going here so I can actually show you. But if not, then I guess I'll just skip ahead till I get in a game, or wait a little while, wait till a little later today and get in a game, something like that. Because I'm honestly running out of things to say. I've covered most of everything you should know. I mean, oh, another thing, do not underestimate old weapons. I see people do it all the time. Do not underestimate old weapons. I've seen blue auto rifles annihilate me. Okay, I've been annihilated by blue auto rifles. I have a green sniper rifle that I've recorded with that can one-shot people with a Titan bubble. I mean, just don't underestimate old guns. Don't underestimate the blues, the greens, the whites. Never do it. I've seen some insane stuff come out of those weapons. So like Thorn, it's been nerfed a lot. I still can get kills with it. Not that I had Thorn with in year 1, I got it year 2, but Thorn can be a very powerful weapon. So do not underestimate Thorn. Very, very powerful still. Just any weapon, don't underestimate it. If somebody's using it, generally they know what they're doing. That, or they're testing it out. But generally, if somebody's using a weapon for a Crucible match, they're gonna know how to use it. They're not gonna use it and just as a weapon that they don't really know how to use. That is really surprising that nobody's doing any sort of Crucible stuff today. It's really weird. Let's try Rift, and if I don't get this one, I'm going to go down to Earth and give you an idea as to what I'm doing. Okay. So, we've talked about glow. We've talked about weapons, subclass. So, let's talk about weapon types. Let's go over that. So, there are a bunch of different types of weapons in Destiny, and there are a few that overlap. Those weapon types. So Thorn would be a medium rate of fire, medium impact hand cannon. I've seen low rates of fire, high impact hand cannons, but there are a bunch of different archetypes. So for instance, Bad Juju is a low impact, high rate of fire pulse rifle, kind of like Hawksaw over here, whereas Red Death is a lower rate of fire, higher impact pulse rifle. So when you get into stuff like that, depending on your rate of fire, that determines what your ranges are going to be. So if you're using something with a really high rate of fire, like Zalo Supercell or Fabian Strategy, those things are going to be a little more close than things that have further ranges. I would also like to state that pulse rifles can be that kind of weapon that's in between all of the weapon classes. Between hand cannons and scout rifles and auto rifles, the pulse rifle, I'd have to say, is probably the most versatile out of all of them, because you can get really up close pulse rifles and you can get really long range pulse rifles at the same time. And believe me, it's insane. Guns like No Time to Explain fit this category, and Red Death kind of fit that category of really long range and really short range if you know how to use them correctly. And I'd also like to say that the range stat on these weapons isn't always accurate. Oftentimes, the range stat is only about half of what it actually shoots, or what it feels like it actually shoots. So, a gun like that, it doesn't seem like it would shoot so far with the range being so low, but actually I can shoot quite far, about usually a good half of the map, if not more, with a range stat like that. No Time to Explain, with its half-ish rating of range and stability, this gun is really good for its range and stability. just, I mean, not because it's an exotic, but because of the weapon class itself. This particular type of weapon, and this particular weapon, the legendary version, the Stranger's Rifle, and the exotic version, No Time to Explain, both have really high stability, not just in the stats, but in the actual gameplay. They feel more stable than most pulse rifles do. Even some of the ones with full stability, like Hawksaw, they feel a little more stable sometimes. So that's something to keep an eye on, is your weapon's base stats too. Some weapons have really high impact, though they don't really show it, and other weapons have really high rates of fire, even though they don't show it. So another thing I want to go over, since we're talking about weapons, is there are exotics that have different perks, right? And then there are exotics that have, like Red Death, there are some exotics that actually have hidden perks. So weapons with hidden perks actually do bonus things on top of their hidden abilities. Or not their hidden abilities, but on top of their exotic abilities. For instance, Red Death actually has Grenader on it, which gives you more grenade energy per kill, as well as healing you, and it's easier aim under fire. And let me think. That's the only one I've got in my inventory right now that's like that, anyway, that I can think of. But there are weapons out there that do hidden things like that. And it's not just like one or two. There's, out of all the exotics, I'd say at least half of the weapons have hidden perks in them, as far as I can think. I mean, No Time to Explain must have counterbalance in it or something, because it is very stable for that kind of pulse rifle. Very stable. Alright, so we got a game of Rift going here. So now hopefully I can give you an idea as to what I'm doing. So depending on how many objectives you have, you can change up your playstyle. When you're running something like Rift, there's only one objective, so most people are going to be around there. So you can plant traps and things there. So if you're playing a hunter, say Night Stalker, I'd recommend your sticky nades here, because you can throw them right on the rift and they'll never know that they're there.
Bravo team.
Things like that. And so here we go. Come on. So planting traps around objective points is very useful, or just simply staying there with something like a AoE nade, AoE being area of effect. I really like area of effect. If you notice my play style, I play with a lot of area of effect. That's something else we need to cover. Sniper battles. Okay. You know when you're a good sniper when you don't do what I just did. I was outranged. Okay. And I knew it. Going into that, I'm outranged, and I know it. Because my Thorn cannot make a shot like that and kill them in one bullet. Right? Let me, voice channel. There. Turn that off. Anyway, so, when you're in range combat situations like that, you don't want to be outranged by a sniper rifle. If you're going to be outranged by a sniper rifle, you're probably going to die. Okay, that was lag, I think. So, when you use a weapon of similar range, you're going to want higher skill than the other person. So, if you're using a sniper rifle, you need pinpoint accuracy most of the time. Pinpoint accuracy with a sniper rifle, and you need to be extremely quick. So in that instance, I saw that guy on my map before he got to me. So I was able to charge up my fusion rifle before he came up to me. And this guy I saw on my map from around the corner. I'm just waiting for the right shot. Shot like that. He's probably going to die by burn, but I'm not sure that I landed it. Let's double check. Oh yeah, I landed that shot. Come on. Yep, there it is. Okay, so using your map is very, very useful. Oh. Go. Oh, he's using Thorn too. Okay, so I'm now going to show you how quick I'm looking at the map. 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 just to give you an idea, I do go about that fast. And this was a mistake. I just got taken down by 2 guys with auto rifles. I was in auto rifle range being double teamed. Not a good thing, especially when you're running a gun like Thorn, which is more for one-on-one instances. So Thorn compared to a sniper rifle would be more medium ranged. I'm not going to engage those guys with sniper rifles because I know I'm not going to kill them in 1 bullet like they can. So that's one thing of doing in Crucible that's one thing you can do is do not engage somebody you know you can't kill. So if you're not near cover or whatever, just don't engage at all. Leave them alone. Unless you're trying to distract them or something, just don't engage. So, like this, he has a sniper rifle, but he was in my range, so I was able to kill him a little quicker. And this guy, I just threw a grenade at, and he's going to burn before he dies a bit. So, another thing we should probably go over is when to activate your supers. I'm running Radiance right now, so I'm not going to activate my super until I die. But if you're running something like Hammers, a good time to activate your super is if you were standing here and activated your super and went in and charged the objective. That would be a good time to use Hammers. Same as Nova Bomb, but instead of waiting to activate it around the corner, I would go and just fire it into the area. So, right about now, if I were to die like that, now would be a good time for me to use the super, because I just, you know, that wasn't necessarily the best time because he had his super, but the reason I activated it there was because he walked over me and I had the advantage. He didn't know that I was right there with my super, waiting with my grenades to kill him. Thorn v Thorn. Our skill level was equal, so we killed each other. Thorn is a very, very uneven gun in its rate of fire and its damage per second. It's very, very wobbly. Be the best thing I could think of to describe it. Okay, so I know that guy's around the corner. So I pre-threw that nade knowing he'd be there and let him burn and die by it. So this guy, he's around this corner. So I'm going to sit here, wait for him to jump up with my fusion rifle right there. So that's how knowing your map can help. Also, knowing that there's going to be snipers down there, immediately going into cover can save your life instead of getting hit by a sniper that you didn't think was there. So knowing where the snipers are and keeping tabs on snipers, that can help a lot. So like these guys, those guys are in my range, sort of, except that except that I got taken down by my own gun. It's different skill levels there. I'm not as good at range with Thorn as I could be. So we're gonna continue on and just give you some more ideas as to better ways to play Crucible. Like this, he didn't see me, he doesn't know I'm here, so I have the advantage on him because he didn't know I was right there behind him. Now this next guy saw the whole thing, so he probably knows I'm right here, or not. So just knowing whether or not the person you're attacking sees you is a big difference in combat. So I know where this guy is already. He is right there. But at the moment, I'm surrounded. I know I'm surrounded. So now is not a good time to go and engage. A whole lot. I can engage at range if they're not paying attention, but I wouldn't go much further than that. And you're always going to make mistakes in Crucible. There's no way that you can really avoid making mistakes. I mean, I've made 4, 5, 6 just in doing this video, and you guys have seen it. But the more you play, the more you will learn to not make those mistakes. And when you spot your own mistakes, is probably the best kind of learning.
Only 5 minutes left.
Okay, so there, I saw that guy through the wall. I know there's a guy right there. He, if I remember correctly, has Thorn. So remembering what your enemies have can help a lot. So there, I put a nade behind him almost on purpose. I meant for it to go a little closer to him. But I threw a nade behind him because I knew the second I engaged him, he was going to run away from my thorn. Because I knew that, throwing a nade behind him meant that I closed off his area to run from behind. So then he couldn't run from me at all. He was stuck right there, and it was a guaranteed kill. Okay, so now I know that there are 2 to 3 snipers down there by a single glance. And I know that in order to kill them, I'm going to have to run up here with my fusion rifle and hit them when they're not looking. Something like this. There we go. So another thing to remember when doing PvP type things is it's okay if you die and kill the guy in front of you as well. So long as you break even, it's not that big a deal. But if you go many times without dying, or many times dying without getting a kill, that's a little bit more of a problem. But I mean, even if you're not a very good player in Crucible, one of the best ways that you can help your team is just by simply not dying. Don't engage as much. That's one of the best ways you can help your team is by not engaging in situations that you think you can die in. Come on. There we go. There's a kill. So here, I'm going to try and control that objective point. He has a sniper rifle. I know I'm going to die by it. I'm low on health, engaging, really stupid, and yep. So sometimes you just take risks in Crucible. I was probably going to be sniped from the side there in the next couple of seconds. And that guy, he clearly had the advantage. I knew he had an auto rifle, but I decided to fight him anyway, which was not the best choice. So one of the best things you can do in Crucible is try and control the capture points. In this case, there's only one, so it's very easy to control. But in Control, there are 3. It makes it a little more difficult. But in Control, if you can control 2 of the 3 points, you'll be golden. You'll be done. I mean, the game will pretty much be yours if you can control 2 of the 3 points. So there I threw a nade trying to force this guy out, knowing that he was right there around the corner sniping. So part of what you can do with your classes is find the best way to close the gap. The Warlock probably has the worst ways to close the gap because the Warlock doesn't have any sort of shade step or shoulder charge, anything like that. So he has to walk in there very stealthily to close the gap. So try and find the best way to close the gap. Alright, see, from all my Crucible, I knew that that guy would try and run out once he saw my nade. There's always one guy who will try and charge you with a shotgun. So always be ready for that person to come out from behind the corner. Now, I'm going to stand back and let this guy get his kills because he has a golden gun. And he's going to one-shot anybody there. But I'm also going to do my best to try and protect this guy, even though I might die. I'm going to do my best to try and protect this guy while he's got his golden gun. So here I'm using my nades to completely cover an area so that they can't step there. Just pretty much a don't step there ever kind of tactic. So it really helps to be running something like Thorn when you do that. So you can really ensure that all of that burn is saying don't stand there or anywhere near me at all. That's what burn is really good at. Burn and AoE is good at controlling areas. So using that to your advantage can really help you a lot. So using things like bolts, or the bolt nades, the arc bolt, that's what it is. Arc bolt can help you control an area. Scatter nades are good for controlling areas, as well as the solar nades, vortex nades, sorry. Those are good for controlling areas. And then things like fusion grenades are good for controlling enemies, not necessarily areas. So what you can do is in an instance like this in Control or in Rift, forgot what we were doing there for a minute. In areas like Rift, you can throw a grenade onto an enemy in a control point, do damage to lots of guys in the area, and kill one of them at the same time with maybe with burn on or something like that. you can use stuff like that. So the next thing we're going to cover is something I myself have never really played around with all that much: firebolt grenades. Okay, we're just going to see how these do. And you know what? I think I'm just going to make a separate video covering grenades and stuff. But anyway, thank you. I'm going to end this now, I guess. Thank you for listening to my ranting, my watching me play, and I hope you learned from this. I'm not trying to say that everybody out there is doing something wrong or anything like that. I'm just trying to help you guys get better at Crucible so that you can be better at Crucible. I'm trying to benefit you as the gamer, the player. So thanks for watching so much, and thank you, all of you, my subscribers, my 50 subscribers, for subscribing. I mean, it's a big deal for me. I never thought that I would get this far at, having 50 subscribers. Once I restarted my channel, I never thought that I would have 50 subscribers, especially not anytime soon. I mean, my goodness, I went from having 20 subscribers just like 5 months ago to 50 now. I can't thank you guys enough for being there, for supporting me, for keeping me on top of my videos, because I'm pretty bad about doing that. But thank you so much, and I will always remember this moment. And I guess that's it. Thank you.